Hello everyone, it is your host, Seth, and today I have a pretty strange topic. This topic is something really you only hear in very niche, advanced Dragon Ball debates, usually when it comes to the plot. So, an example of something that would start a conversation like this would be, for instance, Super Saiyan 3 is a bad form because it's not needed. Like, you could technically have the Buu Saga without Super Saiyan 3. Or Super Saiyan Blue is kind of a bad form because the plot could work without Super Saiyan Blue. Now, most of you that are listening might be like, what are you talking about? How is Goku supposed to fight Kid Buu without Super Saiyan 3? How is Goku supposed to fight Hit or Goku Black without Super Saiyan Blue? A lot of these things are valid, and it's sort of niche advanced argumentation, like I said. But this video will actually be sort of a counterpoint, or I don't know, weirdly proving the point to show how absurd and redundant it kind of is. And it goes into a bit of what I kind of want to get into with many other series, and that's visual storytelling and shonen, and the not so literal aspects to it. So, for instance, the Nine Tails in Naruto doesn't literally need to be a gigantic fox. It could also be a representation of loneliness, hatred, and demon within Naruto that would cause him to act more explosively or differently, that could cause him to hurt people or save people. Okay, that's an example. Dragon Ball is no different in the regard that it has a lot of visual storytelling. In fact, it is a big pioneer of visual storytelling to where Goku transforms half a dozen times throughout the main continuity. So, what am I talking about? What do you mean? He doesn't need Super Saiyan 1, doesn't need Super Saiyan 2, 3, doesn't need God, Blue, Ultra Instinct, doesn't need the Fusion Dance? No, he doesn't need any of them, technically, for the story to work. And so, here's some examples. Super Saiyan 2. Does Gohan need to go Super Saiyan 2 for that fight against Cell to work out? No. Why can't he just be Super Saiyan? And then he gets so angry his hair stands up, and then he beats the hell out of Cell. It doesn't need to be called Super Saiyan 2. It just needs to show, oh, his hidden power is combining with his Super Saiyan form. His hidden power came out. That's all you need. And then Super Saiyan 2 in the Buu Saga, Goku and Vegeta trained so hard and pushed Super Saiyan to the point where they could reach that Gohan's level. It doesn't need to be called Super Saiyan 2. It doesn't even need to look different, theoretically. And then Super Saiyan 3 can just conceptually be the same as Kaioken, in the sense where Kaioken is Goku's ability to push himself to the degree where he could fight the strongest under the heavens. However, it causes him massive strain, and he can only do it in short bursts. Super Saiyan 3 is the Super Saiyan form of that concept. So Goku can then push his powers to the utmost where he can fight Majin Buu. However, he can only do it for short bursts of time, and he gets too tired and he needs to find other ways to defeat Majin Buu. He doesn't need Super Saiyan 3 for that concept to work. He could use Kaioken, or it could just be some strained pushing of Super Saiyan beyond his normal limits, which he actually does in Dragon Ball Super against Merge Zamasu. He pushes himself to the degree where he can break his arms fighting Merge Zamasu, which is basically a one-to-one example of what I'm talking about with Super Saiyan 3 hypothetically. He doesn't need Super Saiyan 3. He could just have some limit break moment to be able to fight Majin Buu in quick bursts, which he learned in the afterlife, some type of spiritual enlightenment that lets him push beyond his physical boundaries. Super Saiyan 2, once again, same thing. It can just be illustrated through enraged. Maybe there's so much energy, your hair goes up a little bit. Super Saiyan, on the other hand, actually, let's go into Super Saiyan God first. Super Saiyan God, another example. You don't really literally need some red, fiery God form. The characters can just say, he has God Ki, we can't sense him anymore. That's it. There you go. He's a god now. Goku has reached the god tiers of the strongest in the heavens. Super Saiyan Blue could just be a god variant of him accessing his Saiyan potential, or sort of that Super Saiyan 3 concept we talked about before with his God Ki. Ultra Instinct, another great example. In fact, Goku's trying to learn Ultra Instinct in his base form. Ultra Instinct is almost basically his base form in Omen Sign. He just has silvery eyes. And for the audience, it is just silver hair, so we can tell that he's using it for the most part, or silver eyes, so we can tell he's using it. Realistically, all he needs to do is sort of, his fighting style is completely alien and different. All you need to do is give Goku a bit of a blank look to his face, and then have him have that alien fighting style. And there you go, Ultra Instinct. He doesn't literally need a white-haired form. Vegito and Gogeta are supposed to be symbolic for Goku and Vegeta working together in perfect unison. So that concept could still be illustrated or given some texture without them literally fusing their bodies together. Most people don't recognize this, but Goku and Vegeta never used this perfect teamwork at any point in the story. It's only a movie thing. In the main continuity, that was really the first time. But the anime makes that a bit more jarring and hard to understand. So the only one that's really kind of complicated from there would actually be Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan would be a bit harder. However, you would sort of just say, well, all Goku is doing there is accessing his Saiyan nature with his Earthling nature, his hard work, with his nature, and then combining them and realizing his full power. A character that literally does this without turning into a Super Saiyan actually did happen in Dragon Ball Super, and that was Bardock. Bardock, when he fought Gas, did literally that concept without transforming into a Super Saiyan. In fact, Gas is like, are you transforming? Like, what? There's not supposed to be anything other than Uzaru. Like, what did you just transform into? Showing he accessed this Saiyan potential or instinct without literally transforming. You could do the same thing with Goku. You could also show it in multiple different ways. Goku's eyes could be slightly more sharp. In the manga, when Goku becomes a Super Saiyan, you get square text bubbles. So you would have Goku's eyes maybe become a bit sharper, more like a Saiyan or like Vegeta, and maybe he'd grow slightly more muscular, more feral, and just have his text boxes turn square. Super Saiyan 2 could be he's accessing so much power at once, his hair starts to stand up from his energy all the time. And then Super Saiyan 3, it's a short limit-breaking form where his hair blows back. That's another example. It doesn't need to be long, golden Thor locks, all the time whenever he transforms. Super Saiyan God, once again, we went over that. The characters say we can't sense his energy anymore. He's transcended. This is actually a concept in Bleach, another shonen series, where once they transcend to a higher plane, they just can't sense him anymore. Same concept. Goku has reached the next level. He's transcended to the next plane of power. He's become a god-tier martial artist. Super Saiyan Blue, once again, what we talked about earlier, that kind of Saiyan feral concept on top of the God Key. And then Ultra Instinct, what we talked about as well. So those are multiple ways that you could actually have the story function basically identically without there being any visual storytelling at all. Now, the only thing that it does really do is that it is just mainly for the audience to kind of visualize what's happening. And most people don't recognize that. So when they're like, oh, this form sucks, blah, 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 maybe it's more important to look at it less as a form and more as a concept. Like what is actually happening conceptually. Because of course, Viz and all these other guys, they want to make, toys, they want kids to understand what's happening. Like it'd be hard for kids to kind of follow along. And a lot of the audience, even with the transformations, people struggle to follow along. Let's just be honest here for a moment. So imagine if they really didn't have all these transformations. It's mainly just to illustrate that. And actually, Toriyama talks about that when he was designing Super Saiyan. He's like, I just wanted to have some idea that Goku was doing this thing now. So I just started drawing his hair white. That was literally basically what he said. It was just to show the audience that there was a change in his being. But it's not necessary to the plot, per se. Like, you could just have these concepts float around with slight variations, and it doesn't have to be that way. Uzaru is a bit of a different case. Uzaru also doesn't necessarily have to happen. Like, you could have Goku still have the tail to show he's not a human, and then he sort of, just chimps out or something. But I think Uzaru is a bit of a different case. Mainly, I'm just talking about the Super Saiyan forms and stuff like that. You could also say that the transformations literally happening also kind of help elaborate on Goku has finally transformed as a person into this stage in his life, right? So, Super Saiyan 3 is he's ascended into this heavenly martial artist that has pushed beyond his boundaries mentally and spiritually. And that's why he can be the strongest under the heavens or compete with them in that state. Super Saiyan 2, once again, same thing. Super Saiyan just tapping into that full Saiyan hardworking potential. This is a concept also in Naruto as well. You'll notice that in Naruto, there are characters like Naruto and Sasuke. They actually technically have a lot of potential, but they need that hard work and that acceptance of themselves to really fully bring it out, like in Six Paths or the Kurama state, stuff like that. It is a very common trope that Dragon Ball has sort of brought around over the years. But yeah, I just thought this would be sort of a little bit of an interesting video that most people haven't thought of, and I'm actually curious how you guys, if you had to sit down in a room and they're like, nope, we're taking every form out of Dragon Ball. Let's say you went back in time and an angel or someone's like, nope, you need to find a way to write this story or tell Toriyama how to do this without any of this blonde-haired It'll be the end of the world if he does that, all right? So make him do the same thing without any of that. How would you go about that realistically? And is it still possible? And you would find that the answer is yeah, it would still all work pretty cohesively. You just have to maybe make a few more statements, or there'd still be some slight visual changes, but there are that regardless. Think of Gohan and Krillin getting their potential unlocked. They didn't actually really change in appearance. Goku getting the Ultra Divine Water to fight King Piccolo, he becomes a bit more serious looking, but he can just kind of do that anyway, realistically. Those are just some examples of that, but other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope that helps you evolve some of your Dragon Ball discourse you have with your buddies or something like that, and other than that, till next time.